like to introduce our two guests today. We're so excited to have Martina Daly, who's a licensed clinical social worker and founder of New Awakening Recovery Services, and Samantha Houston. She is a mentorship program facilitator with Ross, and they will share with us their personal connection with recovery and the work they do to support others on their recovery journey. So I'll turn it over to Martina.
Thank you so much, Kimberly. Thank you all for joining us here today. As Kimberly stated, my name is Martina Dailey. I am the founder of New Awakening Recovery Services. I am a licensed master social worker. I'm currently receiving clinical supervision to get my licensed independent clinical social work license. And so I just love everything about being a social worker. I love environments like this. So thank you all so much for giving me an opportunity to share today. New Awakening's mission is to provide education, guidance, and support services to recovering women in a healthy, sober living environment, and to offer community referral services to any individual seeking help with a substance use disorder. New Awakening Recovery Services is not a treatment program, and we do not offer therapy to our clients. We offer recovery support services, educational services, career and job readiness. We offer reintegration and reentry services. We also offer a recovery enrichment program, and we are currently partnered with Jesse's Place Homeless Shelter for Women and Children. And in that program, we offer our recovery enrichment classes. And so we're so thankful for UAB Arts and Medicine for also partnering with us in this program. They have come out to Jesse's Place with us and have provided some amazing services to the women there. I would also like to inform you all that we are having a recovery conference at the Trustful Civic Center this coming Saturday, starting at 11 a.m. I would love for you all to come there with us. It would be an amazing event. And so I have worked in the recovering community for many years, and I have previous experience working with individuals in inpatient and also intensive outpatient treatment. So it's so fitting that I would be speaking on this topic today, especially with being in the month of September. This month has been designated for Recovery Month. And the tagline for Recovery Month is "Recovery belongs to everyone, every person, every family, and every community." And all of our friends and family members who are in recovery deserves an opportunity to tell their story in a safe and inclusive space. I like to think of addiction like as a manifestation of things that are unseen. Kind of like if you think of a tree and how a tree have roots, it's under the many layers of a person's psyche and their soul and their mind, what lies underneath, such as trauma, abandonment, emotional, physical, and sexual abuse, and various other adverse childhood experiences. Those experiences are embedded in the psyche and an unconscious level of an individual. I like to think of addiction and struggles related to addiction as the leaves that we see on a tree. That is what society see. That's what the people in the community see. That's what the world see. And sometimes people try to understand a person by looking at their leaves. You know, they may look at a person being in addiction and experiencing different mental health conditions. But to truly understand a person, I believe that the answers are found in the roots. And sometimes it hurts for individuals to bring those experiences to light. So oftentimes, when a person has made a decision to recover, it is because they have connected with a person or program or system where they have been provided a safe place to talk about a lot of things, a lot of things hidden. So there's a famous quote that I have on New Awakening's website, and it says, "People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care." It is so important that if a person has trusted you with their experiences and they use their voice to open up and tell their story, and that we listen and validate their experiences, reflectively listening and empathetically listening to their stories often open doors that otherwise probably couldn't be open no other way. But it's an art and a science in doing that. And it is something that people in the helping profession should be aware of. And it's something that I constantly have to be aware of anytime that I'm working with any of our participants. Telling people who need help, telling them facts, such as, you need to go to NA and AA, you need to get a sponsor or get a peer, and, need to stop doing drugs for your family and for your children and for yourself. You need new supportive friends, avoid negative relationships, change your people, places, and things, and go to therapy, etc., etc., etc. Sometimes that reinforces the shame, and it reinforces judgmental feelings that people have when they're struggling with an addiction. And so we have to be careful with giving facts, because if the connection is not there, or if a person feels as if their experiences don't matter, facts and advice giving sometimes would just leave them feeling invalidated, with a story and an experience untold. And so it's noteworthy to mention here that my talk on this subject does not apply to every individual who are seeking recovery. People have their own individual path to recovery, but it's just with my experience, I noticed that when people feel validated, when they are given the opportunity to tell their story in safe places, it just opened doors that sometimes could not be opened no other way. If a person wants to cry out their story, it's important to listen to that. If they want to whisper their story and their pain, listen to it. If they want to write it out or sing it or cry, whatever it is, it's so important that we have a listening ear and have an empathetic approach when people are telling their story. Because before we get an opportunity to hear the voice of recovery, we need to listen to the voice of pain, the voice of trauma, and also the voice of injustice. Listening and getting insight of a person's world is so important, and people are more apt to trend in a direction of healthy growth and change if they feel validated, respected, and heard. If they feel that their voice and their story matters. So the voice of recovery, that validating and liberated voice of recovery, we begin to speak so confidently and unapologetically about our truth. Although I don't have the lived life experience of a person in addiction recovery community, their stories have always resonated with me. And I believe it's because of my own family history of trauma and of addiction. And drugs and addiction and trauma has played a huge part in my family's life, in my life. So thank you so much to UAB Arts and Medicine for giving me the opportunity to share on this topic. Today, you all will get an opportunity to hear my voice of recovery recovering from the trauma, recovering from the pain, and from the dysfunction that I experienced, and it was primarily caused by drugs and addiction. And so I wrote this poem, and I would like to share it with you all today. I kind of struggled with how I was going to, what I was going to present on in this virtual format. And so I was up early one morning and I just started writing. And so the title of this poem is The Voice of Recovery.
Martina, just as you started talking, you went on mute.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know how that happened.
Sorry to interrupt you, but we want to hear your words.
Oh, no. Thank you so much. So the title of the poem is The Voice of Recovery. My voice when I was hurting, so weak, small, and mute. In a world full of noise and beauty, my soul deeply mute. My voice when I was in pain and all alone, wanting so badly to have peace, structure, and a happy and healthy home. My voice when I was lonely, emotionally abandoned and left behind, sitting in a room with a barren voice, scared soul, and confused mind. My voice when I was traumatized, oh, that sorrowful soul of mine, stumbling away from situations, escaping death so many times. Oh, how I remember my elder family member and friend, that wreck when he was drunk. I was with him, less than 10. I had no voice in the ambulance. I could only stretch out my hand. I wanted to grasp my relative. That paramedic smacked my hand. I can only imagine what she was thinking. This little girl, she could have died in a wreck with a drunken old man, and yet she's reaching out for him if she can only hold his hand. My voice when I was abused, misused, and betrayed. If I had to name that voice, I guess I'll name her Afraid. My voice when I finally talked to God, oh, how much I had to say. It was then that I realized my survival was not my own. It was by his tender mercy and amazing grace. My voice when I had that heartfelt talk with God, I began to realize how close he is to me, although he seems so far. My voice when I say, Abba Father, Abba Father, I use my voice to say his name. I notice when I focus on Abba Father, his love eases the pain. Oh, this voice I have now, she liberates and empowers me. I think if I had to name this voice, I think I'll name her Free. And it's so awesome to finally realize she's always been with me. So now I have to close. I guess I have no choice, but I want to humbly thank you for listening to my heart, my soul, my voice. And that is it. Thank you all so much.
Martina, thank you so much for sharing that with us. I definitely want to talk about that. But before we dig into that, I do want to turn it over to Samantha and hear from her. And then, of course, we'll engage in a discussion. And as I mentioned before, if any of our people, our Zoom audience would like to ask a question, please put that in the chat and we'll have time for that a little bit later. So now I'll turn it over to Samantha. And again, thanks so much, Martina.
Hi, everyone. My name is Samantha Houston. I'm a person in long-term recovery since September 12th, 2018. I am a certified recovery support specialist since October of 2018, and I'm now a recovery community services program instructor for Ross organization. And what that means is I share my lived experience with others to help them to be of support to their recovery. We have a program that has 4 phases, and so I'm the 4th phase instructor, and I was the first person to come through the federally granted program here at Ross, and so the federally granted internship program. So now I'm that instructor, and I help to train people up to get them certified through the state of Alabama, which is very special to me, for good reason, for very good reason. I'm super grateful to be here. So I would like to start off by sharing a few of the struggles that I went through that had led me to where my addiction took me, and I identify with Martina on a lot of different levels. She doesn't realize we identify through pain. Some people may not know what I've been through as far as substance abuse, but they do know what I've been through in certain areas. And I can totally identify. I grew up in a very dysfunctional home. My parents, my mom and my stepdad, were both in substance use disorder, and they were active. And so it was a lot of chaos. There was a lot of domestic violence. The police were at our home all the time. So I remember fear was a feeling that I learned to feel very early on, because I was always scared. I was always scared something was going to happen to my mom. I was always afraid because I was just a little kid and I couldn't do anything about it. So I ended up being you know, the mother figure that my baby brother knew. And at 16, 15, 16, that was not a very good figure. I started following my parents' footsteps. I was looking for security and acceptance in high school. So I started being promiscuous at an early age. I was looking for love. I needed to be loved. I wanted some guidance. I wanted direction. And the places where I went to find that were the places that led me down the wrong path. So my substance abuse did start early, and I can tell you now that I realize now that it started at a very young age. It's never been enough. The substances that I put in were never enough. I always had to have more, more, more. I could get sick. I could have bad consequences, all of those things, and it didn't matter. I still had to feed this monster more, more, more. So, filter on through just a little bit. So I went through a lot of struggles. I have been incarcerated. I can't even count how many times I've been incarcerated. My early 20s was very, everybody else was going to college, or, you know, getting married in their early 20s, or having kids and things like that. I was on the streets. I was bouncing from house to house. I was selling my body. I was using all kinds of chemicals. I've overdosed. Oh my gosh, I can't count how many times that either. In and out of jail, just alone at Jefferson County, I have 24 mugshots at Jefferson County Jail. And when I tell that to people, they look at me now and they're like, "What?" I went to prison. I went to Julia Tutwiler Prison for Women in 2006, and I received a straight 10-year sentence. I had 4 felonies, and which I still don't have. And so it just, so much stuff happened. I caused myself sexual abuse. I've also been sexually abused. I've been in situations with guns to my head. I've been abused in abusive relationships, been abused on the streets. It was a lot. It's a lot. And it makes people wonder, because people are like, what would make somebody continue to go back to that same thing over and over? It seems like it is insanity. And it is insanity. But that's why it drives me crazy, the stigmatism about addiction, because I didn't want those things for myself. Those are not the things that I wanted to do. I was being driven by a power greater than myself, and that was a disease that I suffered from. It's taken me a long time to get some self-forgiveness. It's taken me a long time to get some self-acceptance. You know, when I was in high school, you know, everything was about being cool or being popular and things like that. And those were the things that I never had been. And so we carry these things into recovery. All those issues that we had early on, we carry these things into recovery when we come in here. So, you know, I've had a lot of therapy and I've been through a lot of counseling. I suffer from mental health illness as well. So I am co-occurring. I have PTSD, manic depression, bipolar, and ADHD. And I think that's kind of normal for people that suffer from substance abuse because we put so much chemicals into us that it throws our little brain off, you know? And I like to explain it like this, like, I'm not like everybody else. I can't just go and have a drink. I can't go have a cocktail or a glass of wine because if I was to do that, my brain doesn't, it's not like everybody else's. And so it reacts differently. I was on this path I never gave up. As early as I can remember, I have been fighting. I've been to 15 inpatient treatment centers. I never gave up. Through everything that I've been through, I never gave up. A very important part of my story is I did lose my mother in 2002 to a domestic violence situation. Everybody, I think we all knew that either my stepdad would kill her or she would kill him, and it ended up being that way that day. And for a long time, I used that as an excuse. And I don't do that anymore. I don't use excuses anymore. But early on, we look to blame everybody. And the reason why I want to point that out is because I don't know who is on listening right now that may be suffering with a family member that is in the disease of addiction or may have a substance use disorder themselves. Or anybody that's just looking to help people around them or people in the community. You know, the stigmatism and the change, it starts with us. It starts with us as a whole. It starts with learning to love people where they're at and not judge so much and not call people, you know, crackheads or prostitutes or junkies or alcoholics. You know, those things don't, what's the point? What good is it doing? I mean, you can't change a person by calling those things. Really, the only thing you can do is just, you're keeping somebody down. You know, the more that we hear things, the more we believe them. So the more, when I got into recovery, the more I fed my recovery, the more I got recovery. But the more I fed negativity here, the more I got negativity. And since I'm a person who suffers from the disease of addiction, it's centered here in my thinking, right? So if I'm thinking the things that I'm hearing, then that is what is going to come out of me. It's taken a while. I surrendered finally in September 12th, 2018. I actually just celebrated 4 years on Friday night. It was amazing. We had food and a cake, and we had my fiance's in recovery, and he was my speaker, and he did such an amazing job. And I had to change everything about my life, everything. I stopped hanging around the same people. I stopped going to the same places. You know, my whole life is centered around recovery, including, you know, my position here at Ross organization. I never could believe these things. I was a 6-time convicted felon with nothing but a restaurants to put on my resume, you know, and it's amazing that when I finally surrendered to God and to his path for my life, all these doors started to open up for me and things started happening for me that I could never have believed possible. I mean, I never could believe these things were possible. You know, anybody that's got a family member struggling, there is hope. I'm telling you now, you are looking at an individual. I was on any kind of substance that you could think about. That's what I was on. Thank God I wasn't on wasn't around for the fentanyl, I may not have even been able to bring myself back. But don't give up. I have a sister, and I've tried to help her for many, many years. And I think I did more enabling than I did anything. But there is help for your family member. And that we have a helpline at Ross. It's I'll put it in the chat. How about that? I'll put it in the chat so that if anybody wants to call for mental health resources or for resources for their family, they can. If there happens to be anybody that's on here that is in recovery, we do have a program that here at Ross Organization, and you can get on this program, and it leads you to the state certification so that you can give back and help others. It's an amazing experience. We have a community center up here at Ross and Avondale. We have big events every month. We do these parties and karaoke, and we have a pool table and a kids room. I'm in the kids room now, and some arcade games and big TVs. We watch football. We feed the community every day. If you know anybody that's homeless, they can go up here. We try to get them resources for housing. It's one of those things where it's just not the person with the disease's problem. It's everybody's problem. It's everybody's problem. And that's the way that we get through this thing, is as a community and as a whole. That's one thing that I'm learning now, to give back to my community. I thought at first it was just about giving back to recovery, but it's so much more than that. It really is. It's an amazing life, and I'm so grateful that I have got the time that I've got clean. I'm sorry, we don't even say clean anymore. We don't say clean. I'm glad that I have the time that I have in recovery. I'm a 12-step recovery person, so I did get my recovery in NA, but there are many pathways to recovery. Medicated assisted recovery, Alcoholics Anonymous. There's so many pathways, but first and foremost, I know that the reason why I'm where I'm at is because I became a willing participant with God's path for my life. That was the hit. That was the hit right there. That was it. So anyway, I'm trying to think of anything. Okay, so I know I was thinking about Martina, and we're like on arts and medicine, and I was like, and I meant to bring one of my poems, and so because I was gonna do a poem, and then I thought to myself, well, what better than to take this home? My mother's death anniversary is coming up on September the 25th, which is a few days away. So I thought I would share the poem that I wrote for her when she passed on. So the poem is titled On This September Day. It doesn't seem a year's passed by since my mother passed away, leaving me alone in this world on this sad September day. I continue to ask myself, what if only, and why? I never even got the chance to say I love you or goodbye. I miss the special bond between my mother and me. It's the hardest thing, accepting the way things have to be. She used to hold me close to her and wipe away my tears. Just the sound of her voice could wipe away my fears. She was always there waiting, any time of the day or night. She was there when I did wrong and whenever I did right. Who will help me look beautiful on the day I say I do? Who will guide me to being a mom when I have a baby brand new? Thank God, no. Who got me to being a mom? There are so many questions. There are things I will need to know. Oh, how I wish my mother could continue to watch me as I grow. The pain runs deep inside me, all the loneliness I feel. When will my sorrow ease? When will my heart begin to heal? So I will close my eyes and I will begin to pray that God will answer for me all the things that she can't say. The answers come to me quick, though my mother I cannot see. She is watching from heaven, an angel flying free. So no matter how hard it gets or what my future brings, my mother is my angel. I am the wind beneath her wings. On this September day, my mother never did die. Her spirit lives on within me, and together we will fly. Thank you very much, UAB. I appreciate y'all having me. Thank you, Martina, for introducing me to a whole lot more things. I would also like to let y'all know that I have just received information and my paperwork's been put in to get a full pardon from the state of Alabama. And so that's another part of my past that I am trying to work on cleaning up the wreckage of my past. So thank you for having me. That's all.
Samantha, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. And people are commenting, on really both poems that that thank y'all, and they're beautiful. And Melissa says that yes, Ross is an amazing resource. I've been down there many times, and it's such a warm, welcoming group with so many connections and resources. So yes, so thank you so much for sharing that with us, both Martina and Samantha. Before we go into questions, I just wanted to Martina, if you just had any, I didn't know if you had any thoughts for Samantha. I know y'all are friends, and so I just wanted to kind of open it up to you all in case you had some things that you wanted to say before we turn it over to general questions.
Well, I would just like to tell Samantha how proud I am of her. Samantha is just a beautiful person inside and out. And thank you so much, Samantha, for sharing your poem with us. And thank you for what all you do in the community. Samantha does so much in the community. And I remember being really nervous to ask her to help us at New Awakening. And she called me back and told me that she just could not say no to giving service to the community to help people recover. And so her heart is truly in this. And I'm just so proud of her and what she's doing at Ross, and how she just helped anybody in the community. And so, and thank you for sharing that poem with us. I actually thought Samantha was going to sing. She has a beautiful voice. Very, very beautiful voice. But thank you so much, Samantha.
Thank you, Martina. And someone else wrote, Martina and Samantha, your poems are both amazing and profound. Your poems have been very inspiring to me. So actually, I don't think we have any questions yet. So everybody, please put those in the chat. But because we are hearing about the poems, I just wanted to see from both of your perspectives. We'll start with Martina since her poem was first. But why do you find that to be important for you to write about, to write about your experience, and specifically through poetry? What does that mean to you, and how is that healing for you, if it is part of your healing process?
Well, I actually I used to write poems when I was a young girl, and for many, many years I had like a writer's block, I guess. I just kind of stopped doing it, but it was so much healing in writing poems when I was a young girl. A lot of the experiences that that I endured, a lot of the trauma, I would just write about it. I would just, find a pen and paper and just write about it. And it was so healing to me to just write it out. I love to write anyway, used to, but I don't have a lot of time to really devote a lot of writing the way I used to. But when I was younger, we grew up in just in a lot of dysfunction. And so I would just be in my room with pencils and papers and books. And so I would just write. And so it was so much, it was healing for me. Um, this particular poem, I just started writing it. And even with me reciting this poem today, um, it's something about speaking, verbally speaking and reciting this poem, because the ears hear and the heart feels it. And even when I was talking about being in the ambulance, I was in a drunk. The family member was drunk, and he was an elder, so much older than me, and we was in a really bad car accident, and I think I was maybe about 6 or 7. And so even me writing about that, I remember being in the ambulance and trying to reach over and hold his hand because I just loved him. He would take me with him um, different places, and I just remember reaching out, trying to hold his hand, and for whatever reason, the paramedic kept like smacking my hand away. And I think she was really mad at him, maybe. Um, and she just didn't want me to reach out to him. And so it takes me down memory lane. And there was a part of my life where I felt like, it was painful to even think about some of the things that I went through in my life. Um, and I remember the feeling of just feeling emotionally lonely growing up. There's just a lot of drug use, a lot of overt and covert trauma that people couldn't see, and also things that occurred because we were unsupervised a lot. And so, I, it would hurt to even think about it. And so I've been through therapy, and every now and then I'll go back to therapy. And one thing that I learned in therapy, and it was just it really it changed my perspective on a lot of my experiences. My therapist told me about trauma integration. And oftentimes, when people have experienced a lot of trauma, we like to push that traumatic self out of the picture. And we go on with our life as if that traumatic person never exists. And, we go on and go to school or do something in the community, help people or whatever. And we just leave that traumatic person behind. And it was just so liberating and eye-opening for me when she talked to me about trauma integration, that I should integrate that person within myself, because that person, that traumatic Martina, is a part of me. And it's just so empowering when you can integrate different traumatic experiences that you've been through, and you share that to the world. That is my trauma, my dysfunction, and things I went through in my life. That's a part of who I am. And so when she told me about that, I began to really understand what she was saying. And so I have to constantly remember that you know that traumatic person is a part of who I am. And so I have integrated my traumatic experiences, and that's how I even wrote this poem. It's a trauma integration poem. It's a part of who I am. And so I'm proud to be able to talk about my post-traumatic growth. There was a time that I didn't want to talk about that. I felt like I didn't want to be viewed a victim, because I feel like victims are, if you're a victim, you're disempowered. It's like woefully thinking and woe is me. I didn't want to seem to be a victim. I want to be seen as a survivor. And so, yes, I don't ever want to discount my traumatic experience. I wish it didn't happen, but I can't change the past. And so it's a part of who I am. And anytime I get an opportunity to share that, um, I will share that.
Thank you, Martina. Samantha, what about your thoughts about writing or creating, and how that may support your process, your healing process?
Me and Martina are more like than different. We're running like right on the same wavelengths. I feel exactly the same way that she did about it. I used to love to write, and I haven't done it in many years. Especially about my addiction, and I've written a lot of stuff about that, and it's I don't know, writing is just my thing. I've always been horrible in math and science and all that, but reading and literature and reading and writing, I always did really well in. I can remember being at my dad's for summer. I'd sit out by the lake and just write. It was anything to take my mind away from where I was at, and I think that that's a healthy outlet. I felt like when she said that, like writer's block, it's really not writer's block as much as it is I just need to sit down and actually write. I think it would be a good thing. I've actually they had this little spoken word place over in Eastlake, and I had went there once and did a poetry reading. And I used to do it all the time whenever I was incarcerated, and I would write the poetry while I was there. That's what helped me, to get through my process. And I would write poetry, and I read it to all the women. And I think it's an awesome way for people to be able to identify. Martina and my style is very much alike. Our styles are very much alike. You did a very, very good job. So, but yeah, it's awesome singing too. I knew she was going to think I was going to sing, so I wanted to throw a surprise in there for her. But I just love it. It's the way I connect. Music and art. My baby brother, he got the drawing abilities. He's an amazing artist. Me, I can't draw a stick man. But but yeah, singing and writing, it's just something that it's healing. It's really healing.
Thank you, Samantha. Samantha, I also wanted to ask you, I know it's really important for you, as you've said, to kind of give back to people in the community and the recovery community. What does that mean to you? And how do you think that helps other people going through recovery themselves to hear your story? And so just your thoughts about that.
Well, it helps on identification. Everybody has pain, not just women in recovery, men in recovery, they have pain as well. But I get a little special enthusiasm and excitement whenever I share any time in front of a group of women, because I'm not just recovering. I tell people all the time, I'm not just recovering from the disease of addiction. I'm recovering from prostitution. I'm recovering from abuse. I'm recovering from behaviors. And so it's a whole lot of different things. That was one of the things that started to build my integrity. When the day that I stopped putting in substances is the day I also stopped using my body for monetary purposes and substances, because I knew those two were connected and that I couldn't have one without the other. And so I had to surrender that as well. It's very important for people to hear, hey, that individual's been through something. Like that woman, because I'm telling you, like, I was all the way out there. I was gone. I was all the way out there. And so it's very hopeful for someone, because if they can hear my story, they can say, you know what? If she can do it, I can do it as well. And even if it's just that one seed that you plant, maybe that individual doesn't get it on that first time. Maybe it takes them, maybe it is the first and the last time for them, or maybe it was like me and it takes, a long, long time. But the seed is planted. It's about planting the seed. We plant seeds and then we water the seed. Then the seed takes root, and sometimes it gets a weeds in there, and, we got to pluck them little weeds out and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, it can grow into something beautiful. And so that's the way I look at it. It's very important. I mean, I can't tell you how detrimental the people that I have, the women that I have in my life. I have a pack of women, and they some tough women, and those are the women that God put in my life to help me look beautiful on the day that I say I do, and to guide me through these processes, and to love on me, whenever I didn't know how to love on myself, and so that's how it works.
Thank you so much, Samantha. We have a few more minutes left, so I just again wanted to invite folks to, if you have any questions or anything, any comments for Martina or Samantha, to please feel free to put those in the chat. Also, I wanted to just first question is just really like for Martina and Samantha, if there are people who are listening who either are struggling with addiction themselves, or maybe have a loved one who is struggling with addiction, what do you have anything that you would say to those people on the Zoom?
You want to go,
Martina,
Samantha? You want to go
You go ahead
first?
first. Mm-hmm.
Well, I would first like to, I would encourage them to seek out some agencies here in Birmingham area. We have Ross, where Samantha is. We have New Awakening Recovery Services, where we can connect them with a vast range of resources. Additionally, there's also some support groups, online support groups, and telephone support groups. They have all types of topics at different times of the day, for family members and for people who are struggling with an addiction. They have a playback function, where even if someone has missed the live recording, that they could still log in and or call in and put in the passcode, and they can listen to what has been previously recorded. And I have a sheet that I can give to you, Kimberly, or I wish I would have thought of that. I could have provided it, but
yeah, if you'll email that to us, we can share that with the people who are on this Zoom.
Yes, I'll do that. But there's the Birmingham area is really rich with different resources, and so for family members and also for individuals who are struggling with an addiction. And so I would encourage them to reach out to Ross or New Awakening. We can get them some help. Between Samantha and myself, we can help them. We can help them.
Thank you, Samantha.
I was going to say the same thing, just about pretty much. Al-Anon. Al-Anon is one of those support groups for the families, because it teaches you to deal with people that have the condition that I have, because we can be I can be a very hurtful person. I was a very hurtful person. I did some things that were very ugly and hateful and mean. And so we do a lot of damage. Yes, we harm ourselves, definitely, but we harm our families, we harm our communities, we harm other people. And so addiction is a family disease. Okay, so everybody in the family is recovering. I'm recovering, but the people that I have took down through there, they're also recovering. And so the people that I took down there, they need their own process as well. I would say never give up hope. Never give up hope. Never give up hope. You just don't know when it's their moment and that's it, and they're ready to surrender. So that's it. Like Martina said, there's a lot of resources out there. Don't try to do it by yourself. Don't try to do it by yourself. Bring in some people. Bring in some people that have experience with these types of things. That's why these support groups like Al-Anon are very important. So you can, get some better understanding of how I'm a very manipulative person whenever I'm putting substances in, and when I'm coming off substances, I'm a very manipulative person because I don't have any recovery. For a long time, I don't have any recovery. You hear the speech changes for an individual. You won't even know your family member. Like, who is that? What they do with that other evil twin? That's just the way it is. So it's a process. Okay, it's a process. It's a lifelong process. Yeah, just resources, help. Don't try to do it alone.
Thanks, Samantha.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So we are about at time, and I just thank you both so much for being here, for sharing your experiences and the work that you do. I know it is definitely some seeds have been planted for sure. So also I just want to thank everyone for being here and let you know about our next Virtual Mental Health Monday. It will be on October 17th, and in that we're going to talk about the epidemic of domestic violence with Suzanne Clark and Meredith Montgomery. They lost their loved one Megan to domestic violence in 2019, and they now promote domestic violence prevention through the Megan Montgomery Domestic Violence Fund. So they're going to talk about their work and some of the research and things that are happening and work around prevention in the community and beyond. But thank you again so much for being here. And Samantha and Martina, thank you so very much. And have a great day, everyone.